Hi, I'm Kelly Ellison, and welcome back to my kitchen here in Phoenix, Arizona. So my husband and I love sushi. I must admit, we're not the most adventurous when it comes to the rolls we eat, but the rolls we do love are the rolls that have Philadelphia cream cheese. So what I'm doing today is I'm taking all the flavors of our favorite roll, the Philadelphia cream cheese, soy sauce, wasabi, shrimp, and I'm going to create the Dynamite Philly shrimp roll. So let's go ahead and get started. What we need to do is start with 1 sheet of puff pastry. I have that sitting to the side thawing out. We also need to start with 4 ounces of the Philadelphia cream cheese, a ½ pound of shrimp, and 3/4 teaspoon of soy sauce. I'm going to go ahead and mix that into my cream cheese. What I've done is I've already chopped my shrimp, but what I want you to see is how I'm chopping it. I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise from tail to where his head would be. And then from there, I'm going to just chop it very small. What we want is we want every piece of shrimp to be mixed well into the cream cheese. So once you have that chopped, we're just simply going to add it in with the cream cheese and the soy sauce. And we're also going to do something a little different here and add a little bit of dill. I think the dill actually brightens it up a little bit and just adds another layer of flavor. So we've got a ½ teaspoon of chopped dill. So we're going to get this dumped in and all mixed together. All right, so we have our mixture ready to go. Our cream cheese, shrimp, soy sauce, and dill is blended very well. So now we have our puff pastry sheet. It is completely thawed. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes at room temperature. So we're going to take our mixture and we're just going to start spreading it all over the flat puff pastry sheet. Okay, so what we have is we have our mixture spread completely on the puff pastry sheet. What we need to do is carefully roll it now. So you're going to just start at one end. Now be careful because sometimes it will stick to the parchment paper. So you just want to kind of use your hands as you roll and just kind of pull away. All right, so we have our roll, our one big log of Dynamite Philly shrimp roll. And what we're going to want to do is just slice it in small pieces. About a ½ inch, maybe a little less than a ½ inch, and we're going to put it on a prepared baking sheet. So we're going to start cutting this. I have my bread knife here. I've got a serrated, very sharp knife because this puff pastry is very fragile, so you really want a knife that's super sharp that's going to go right through it. One other trick is if you find that it's sticking to the knife, you can take your non-cook cooking spray and go ahead and spray it right on your knife. So when you go to cut, it slices right through it, almost like butter. So we're just going to slice some of these. You can get about 15 pieces out of this roll. So we're going to slice a few and get them on our baking sheet. So we've sliced all of the roll and we've laid it on our baking sheet. Now what we have is we have an egg wash. So just take 1 egg, about a tablespoon of water. You can eyeball it. You don't want too much water. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to brighten up the dough and help it get nice and golden as you cook it. The other thing you can do is you can look at some of your rolls and you can see if the edges aren't sticking. You can take a little extra egg wash and use it as glue. So you can just kind of seal the end and go, or if you'd like, once you roll it, you can actually take your egg wash and do 1 layer all along the roll before you slice it. So either way will work. So we're just going to take our egg wash and just put it on top. So once we have all of these done, we're going to put them in a 400-degree oven. Our oven is preheated. You want to make sure it's nice and hot before you put it in. A nice high temperature so that way it'll get our puff pastry cooked well. You want to make sure that it's cooked all the way through, so about 15 or 20 minutes. So all right, we're ready to go in the oven. We've got all of our slices ready. We'll put it in, we'll check it in a few minutes, and we'll go from there. What we're working on now is the sauce that's going to go on the very top of the cucumber salad. This is what's going to give it a kick. So you're going to get the bite from the wasabi, and then you're going to get a little heat at the very end from this sauce. What we've done is we've taken 3 tablespoons of mayo. I use light mayo. I still think you get a lot of great flavor from it. And especially when you're mixing it with hot sauce, you're really not missing anything there. So we've got the 3 tablespoons of mayo, and I'm going to take 3/4 teaspoon of this Asian hot sauce or Asian chili sauce and mix it in. Now, if you're not a fan of spice, you do not have to use 3/4 teaspoon. You can adjust that. You do want to add a little bit though because it is going to give it a nice color, a nice orange bright color right on top of the roll. So we're going to mix in We're going to mix this really well, And what we're actually gonna do is get it prepared to use to put on top. So a little trick that I have is we're just gonna take a sandwich bag and we're gonna put the mixture in. We're gonna cut a little hole on the edge and then use it as if you were piping or doing icing on a cake. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just set this aside for now. We've got it in our little bag. We're gonna work all of our air out. And it's ready to go for when our rolls come out of the oven and we put our cucumbers on top. So now what we're doing is we're gonna go ahead and chop our cucumbers. We need a 3/4 cup of cucumbers. So we're just gonna take it. Now what I like to do is quarter it. Even though I'm using an English cucumber, it still has the center part, which is not as crispy and crunchy as the outside. So I'm still just gonna remove a little bit of that. So we're really just working with the super crunchy edge of the cucumber. What we're doing is just adding another layer of texture, so when you bite into this roll, you get the creamy, soft crust of the puff pastry, and then you'll actually get the crunch of the cucumber on top. So it's really a great combination. So once I slice the center out, I'm gonna just slice them into small pieces, just like this. And then I'm just gonna dice it. We want them to be pretty small, about the same size as you chop the shrimp, so everything is kind of blending together really well. So our cucumber's chopped. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and make the dressing or the marinade that the cucumber is gonna rest in. What we have in our measuring cup already is 5 teaspoons of the rice wine vinegar. We're gonna go ahead and add a 1/2 teaspoon of wasabi paste. Now keep in mind, you can find pretty much everything we're putting in this dressing on the Asian aisle of your market. So we're gonna go ahead and get this mixed really well. We wanna make sure that we break the wasabi up so it completely coats all of our cucumbers. Now we're gonna go ahead and add a 1/4 teaspoon of sesame oil. Now this is really gonna bring it to the next level. I just love the smell and taste of sesame oil. Okay, I'm gonna switch to my big spoon here and really get this working. Once it's combined, oh my goodness, that sesame oil smells so good. Once we get this combined, we're gonna go ahead and add our cucumbers. Like I said earlier, we want about 3/4 cup. I went ahead and mixed everything in my measuring cup so I don't have to clean another dish. So it makes it just really convenient to kind of just put it right in there. You can measure out and mix in the same container, and it's one less step you have to do at the very end. All right, perfect. So we have 3/4 cup chopped cucumbers, diced real small. We're gonna mix that real well. Make sure every piece of cucumber is coated with the vinegar, the sesame oil, and the wasabi. All right, that looks and smells delicious. The rolls are out of the oven. They've cooled for a couple of minutes. Be careful when you're taking them off of the baking sheet. Just take a spatula and take your time, because that cheese does melt down onto the sheet and you want to make sure that you don't break them up and they're whole so your cucumber salad can go right on top. So what we're gonna do now is just give a good stir on our cucumbers. Now when you're dressing these, you're just gonna use a little bit, maybe 1/2 teaspoon, and just sprinkle it, put it right on top. You wanna drain the sauce out of the cucumbers, so just push it against the side, and then you just wanna put the cucumbers right in the center, just like this. I just trimmed the very edge of my bag off, and so I'm just gonna squeeze it just as if I was decorating a cake. You can do any design you want. You could do a dollop. You can put as much or as little. I like it spicy, so I'm gonna give it a pretty good amount here. Let's go ahead and give it a try. So good. You get the flakiness of the puff pastry, the creaminess of the Philadelphia cream cheese, then you get the crunch of the cucumber, the bite of the wasabi, and then that little bit of heat that comes in at the very end from that topping. It is so good. I recommend you absolutely try it. You will blow everyone away with these Dynamite Philly shrimp rolls.